A lot of the producers were horrendously combatant with the directors because one group of people wanted to make it completely child-friendly. The directors wanted to make this an adult, pushing for almost an R, and they kept clashing throughout the whole period. And I mean,
Rated Mario. I'm so dumb. Please unclap that somehow. That's not funny. Go on.
These directors, they were under the impression that they were of Spielbergian level. They had huge egos. They were making the most artistic, action-packed movie ever, and the producers are trying to reel them in. Their two leads are getting drunk on a daily basis that they can't take this shit. And there's so much documented material on this, how much these actors hated working on it. The directors were schmucks, and there were days in which the DP had to step in and direct, and then two other producers had to direct. And obviously, you can see it because the movie's a complete clusterfuck. I mean, you raised an interesting point, which is, if this wasn't named Super Mario Brothers, would have been more accepted at the time.
No, it wouldn't have.
It would have sucked you away.
Interesting B movie?
On the Sci-Fi Channel.
Okay.
Sci-fi movie of the week.
Jump down from most people's standards. I think it's safe to say, you're putting it in the league with Sharktopus.
Yeah. It'll be right around there, right around Sharktopus.
But yes, do we have any more points on Mario as we're going through history? Any experiences? Because, as stated, you got something to say?
No, I just rented it too many times.
You rented? I rented it a lot too. I never bought the DVD. You bought the DVD.
Yeah.
You let me rip it, and
Because I think it's a comedy now. So I watched it. Actually, I lost it because you played with it.
I've been given that DVD twice as a gift. What the fuck? Sorry, excuse me, there's a new joke. What the fuck? There we go. So you thought I was going to be, politer, but I switched it around on you. Somebody interrupt me. Go now.
but it's apparent what's it? It's apparent that what the violations of this movie are. As a movie in itself, it's not that fantastic. The story is so-so. The effects, as you said, were pretty nice. The production value was pretty nice. Just the art direction, in terms of design, wasn't that great. And it's a video game movie, and anyone who followed or loved Mario was just a travesty. And it was the first in a long line of travesties. Because Hollywood, although this failed pretty big, it's no Heaven's Gate, but it did fail. Hollywood was like, okay, well, that didn't do too well, but, the comic book thing seems to be working. Maybe we can, push forward. There's got to be some kind of property, because everyone wants a property. Property sell, you can do merchandising. So, the next came Street Fighter.
Of course! You can't.
But the unfortunate, I mean,
on the contrary.
As a kid, I never got to finish watching this movie. No, but I did end up finishing watching it, but it was just, it's kind of, what do you expect when you hear a Street Fighter movie? I mean, you expect a fighting tournament, your favorite character is fighting, and your favorite character is being well represented. There was no fighting tournament. The fighting was awkward. And as you said, the only character that I could buy because he's so awesome is Bison, Raul Julia. Even if he's not 100% pitch perfect, I mean, it's one of those situations when Heath Ledger was announced for the Joker, people were iffy about it, but he's such a great actor, and you saw what came out of it. So, but the movie actually did pretty decently overseas. Okay, much better than Mario. Let's relive our takes on this. Let's go back to the past and remember the impact. Anything to say there?
I actually didn't really like it because I played Street Fighter. It was more like what G.I. Joe should have been, maybe, because it's actually got, we don't have to worry about a rise and then he gets locked up and there was no Cobra. But the thing is though, they got some of the costumes down. I'm really disappointed about Cammy's costume. As a guy, I'm disappointed. Yeah, I'm still in remorse. Yeah, Chun-Li's costume sucked too. But overall, the story was not Street Fighter by any stretch of the imagination. So, and I was forced to watch it.
First of all, Van Damme isn't American.
Yeah, that is.
I mean, that kind of always gets me. But okay, here we go. When I was a little kid, this came out when I was really young. So again, I wasn't familiar with Street Fighter. I just saw a bunch of people in costumes fighting, and I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. So I watched it over and over again, just like I did Super Mario.
I think it makes some valid points. Here's the thing. Did anyone ever think of Guile as like the main staple character?
No.
Ken and Ryu sort of seem to be these staple characters, and I feel like, not that they have a whole lot of, not that they're infused with a whole lot of natural character in the game, but it's like I was ready to follow them. And the fact that you're going to go, no, it's the American GI. Yeah. But we're getting a Belgian. Yeah. It's like, okay, come on. Take puff pass. Keep telling me what your plan is there. But I feel like I'm sort of bouncing off what you said, Eddie. There's a fundamental problem with this movie. Was there fighting in the street? I don't think so. And if there was, it was not. Like maybe one little bit. I mean, they sort of cleverly, to their credit, found out a way to make almost all 16 of the Super Street Fighter characters have a reason to be there. Like E Honda, I think, was like the cameraman, and like was Chun-Li like a news reporter or something? Yeah, that was kind of clever. But it's like, and just to sort of foreshadow what we're going to talk about here a little bit. It's not impossible to do a movie about a fighting tournament that is well done. Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat are basically two sides of a similar coin. With Street Fighter, they decided to kind of make this cutesy explanation for why all these people would be in the same place, but they didn't actually do what was in the game. And I think this is a running theme that we're going to find today, is that it's like if they had read the instruction manual, it would have taken them exactly one poop, that much time, just to find out what the game is about. Instead they went, Street Fighter, I've got a great idea. No fighting, a Belgian playing an American, and let's have Raw Troy die. That's pretty much how it went down. It was really
too soon.
Very, very last movie.
And I love Raw Troy, by the way.
And I saw, when doing research for this panel, I was watching a bunch of old interviews regarding Street Fighter, and it was really sad just hearing him talk, just weeks before he died, saying why he did this movie. He did it for his son. He had his whole family on set. And just the way they got the images edited in these interviews really got to me, and I'm like, this had to be his last movie. That's really sad. That's really unfortunate. But let's not all get somber. We miss him, and he's a great actor, and he's the primary reason why people still wear this movie. So I can't stand Van Damme in this. I can't.
Why? I don't know why.
You can understand what he's saying half the time.
I'm going to kick that son of a bitch Bison so hard.
What? The war is canceled 3 times.
Yeah, the one that he just like at the little...
The war is canceled. You don't know. I'm gonna fight. Don't go home like we have to.
You can either go home, or you can go with me.
What?
You can go home to your family.
It's funny, it's like, he's got a pretty thick accent, and so does Arnold Schwarzenegger, but for some reason, I'm totally willing to accept Arnold Schwarzenegger with names like John Kimball.
Yes.
But I can't accept Van Damme as Lieutenant Guile. I don't know, it doesn't make any sense, but he's just not, he's not charming in this role,
Guile's the All-American, and...
Right!
Yeah, he's not All-American, so... But yeah, it's, fortunate / unfortunate that over the last few years this has gotten a cult following. It's quite not as bad as we once thought it was, but it did lead to even worse things, which we'll touch upon later. But
not the other one.
Don't
it was
talk
one
about
of those
that one.
situations, just like a Super
doesn't
Mario, which
exist.
it didn't follow the story. Which now we're seeing the consistency here, which is it didn't follow the story. It didn't understand the main focus of it. It didn't primarily understand its audience, but it made money. Not as much money as the next film, which is Mortal Kombat.
This one got it right.
Which is not perfect, but as we stated, it was the first legitimate step in the right direction.
It tried.
It did try. Well, sum it up. It's a fighting tournament. All these characters get together. They gotta
The
win.
dragon.
And, you know, they fight. Someone wins. And there's interesting effects. I guess the only, big violation, it wasn't rated R, but there was some violence that tailored to kids, like when Scorpion got his head cut in half.
You know, the thing about Mortal Kombat is it's kind of like, there were all these things at that time, it's gotten a bit more of a gray area now, but I think in the early to mid 90s, there was this thing where people started making material that they knew was a little bit too mature for kids, but they knew that kids were the ones enjoying it. Beavis and Butthead was being enjoyed by me. I was 10 and 11, but it was, there was still, I think, a content warning. South Park a little bit later on was like, nobody should watch this, TVMA. Who was their audience? Kids. I mean, adults too, but you know what I'm saying? It's like, there's this sort of, not double standard, but kind of thing where like they cover their ass by saying, hey kids, you shouldn't do, there's a parental blood control thing, like anyone's going to voluntarily do that. But I think that, rated R would have been a mistake because it would have cut off so much of their audience. And South Park, the South Park movie, by contrast, was trying to go for something, their whole movie was about being a dirty movie. But this movie was smarter than Mario Brothers in being the right balance of what it was in the game, but also being accessible, literally, to its audience.
Absolutely, and it made a profit. Unfortunately, I mean, the director just went on to kind of mess his hands around with other things. But regardless, I still have a few gripes with this movie, but nothing major. Dave, go back to the past. Tell us about Mortal Kombat.
I enjoyed it. It was definitely, like Eddie said and Brent said, that it was a very good step in the right direction. And there's certainly some things that should have been fixed, like reasoning for some of the fighting. Not just like, okay, I'm going to tease you and you fight me and blah, blah, blah. But, yeah, it was not Street Fighter. So, it's a very good thing. I'm happy about that. And I was actually looking I was looking forward to the sequel. I'm like, oh my god, the second one's coming out. Sheep is in it. She's going to fight. No, she's going to get killed by a bird cage.
I forgot that.
But go on. Go.
Stop fighting, guys. Jeez.
Yeah, they didn't fight. Yeah, no, there was just a lot of stuff that like Sub-Zero's back. Yeah, wait, what? No, he's not Sub-Zero.
We'll be going after them in the game.
Yeah. So anyway.
So believe it or not, despite the fact that I did play a lot of Mario and a lot of Street Fighter, I actually played a lot of Mortal Kombat when I was a little kid. It goes kind of back to what Brett said. So when this movie came out, I loved it, like I did the other two, but in a different way, because I was familiar with all the characters. They stayed true to most of the costumes, and they made subplots for all the characters, and it was a solid film. It wasn't great, but it was a solid film, and it was enjoyable. And I personally think it's probably one of the best video game adaptations. Yeah.
I just feel like the thing about this movie was it was the first video game movie that, without saying this, in the title somehow, the subtext of this movie was, what you think is important and memorable is what we think is important and memorable, because you think it's important and memorable. You're watching it going, oh my god, the thing I played on my TV is now on the screen, but it looks better. This seems recognizable to me, which our standards should be higher, but at that point they totally weren't.